recording. And now we can AI companion. Uh, okay. And now go ahead and hit admit all. And
Okay, there we go.
let's see. Let's see what happens. Look at that.
Yeah, everybody's coming on. I see everybody coming on
And people will continue. Now you can switch back and forth with gallery view.
with the gallery view.
Try that.
I don't see gallery view. Where? Gallery view. Arthur David.
Welcome everyone.
Hello.
Shabbat. Welcome everyone. Chag Sameach. That's the proper greeting. I almost said Shabbat Shalom. The funniest. Chag Sameach means, yeah, that's it. Happy holidays. Exactly. Right? Yeah. Uh, Sameach, right, is Samech, it's Chet, right? Samech, Mem, Chet, right? So
Right.
Sameach, that's the three letters. That's Simcha. So Chag is a holiday. So this is holiday happy. Chag Sameach, so that's how it's structured. So there you go. Happy holidays is Chag Sameach. All right. All right, everyone's here. Oh, look at this. I've gotten Cat Hansen, everyone. Wow, wonderful. All right. Well, Rabbi and I have been going over Zoom. We're getting him ready for his own Kabbalistic tarot readings, so we can offer those. I'm gonna and we're gonna do our usual. Yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. So why don't we've got a terrific Parsha tonight. If you want to dedicate your Torah study to anyone in particular, or anything, any cause, go ahead. I mean, I think it's appropriate that we must at least mention tonight the horrible killings that have happened, both at Brown University and at Bondi and in Australia. And I'm so thankful that it was a Muslim man who uh, um, saved everyone, and it just shows that this is a war against extremism, not a war against Muslims versus Jews or Jews versus this or it's a war of extremism. And of course we did have the horrible situation of Rob Reiner and his wife. uh and yes, Mark Gilmore points out that he was a member of the tribe. So yeah, and not just a member of the tribe, but he was a member of everybody's tribe. He was a member of the tribe of the American family. Of course, I grew up watching All in the Family. Literally, his father was famous, the famous Carl Reiner, and I remember, Carl Reiner, almost all of the great TV shows, the Dick Van Dyke Show, and all of those terrific Carl Reiner shows, and a great legendary Jewish comedian. And there's a big reason, of course, why there's a disproportionate number of Jews in comedy and a disproportionate number of Jews in Hollywood. Metro Goldwyn Mayer, and it's because when you have an act and you need to run away and you can't take your stuff with you, you can only take what's in your head. You need to be able to make some money, and one of the things that you need to do is to be able to entertain and tell a joke, and that's why there's so many Jewish entertainers. So, and when we weren't allowed to have in America and shut out from other opportunities, they went west and set up Hollywood because nobody gave a darn about it. It was a new technology. They didn't think about regulating it. So it was the Jewish community that really started that and gave a venue back to their people. So Rob Reiner was a descendant of that, and he gave us these fantastic films, Spinal Tap. It's interesting that this is Spinal Tap 2, I guess is going to be Spinal Tap 2. It'll be his last, his closing piece of work for his oeuvre. And Princess Bride, of course. I think which was written by William Goldman, who I believe was an Oberlin student, like myself, I think at the time, and I think he was working on it while he was in college, and he was told that it was crap by his English professor, which is another example of those that cannot do teach. And that brings us to Torah teaching, because those who cannot do teach. So, Rabbi, why don't you bring us up to date with the bracha, and then we'll talk about you could
Okay.
introduce the most fantastic story.
All right, before I make the
He
bracha
can
and
teach. He
introduce
can
it,
teach.
I just want to expound on something that Dr. Jeremy said, is that we in the Jewish tradition we talk about the righteous of the nations, the Hasidic Umot Ha'olam, which means the righteous of the nations, and it's
Well,
important
that
to
would be the
remember
pious
that
of the nation. The pious of the
the pious,
nations.
right? The pious of the nations. Chassid is literally translated as pious. Uh,
Yeah.
Chassidus is the
Yeah.
pious ones, the Chassidim. But the Chassidim Otolam, they usually translated, loosely
The
translated,
pious of
to
the
mean,
world.
right, the pious of the world. So the idea is that in every group, throughout the entire world, you find righteous people. And as Dr. Jeremy pointed out, I really think that we should keep in mind in with me, with my tefillot, with my prayers. I think everyone just, however you wish to do it, to send out good vibes or good energies, because this man, Ahmed al-Ahmed, who was a Muslim man, took four bullets to
Yeah.
to save the lives of Yidden, of Jews who were celebrating Hanukkah peacefully at Bondi Beach, and this man took four bullets to
Yeah.
disarm that gunman in defense of human life. I think that's important to acknowledge that we say thank you, that we really stand united against people who have no respect for human life, and that
That's right.
we're all together on that. It's not a
Exactly.
situation of Jews against Muslims. It's a situation of people who respect human life against people who don't.
Who do not. That's exactly
Exactly,
right.
because
What you
the
said is exactly
radicalized
right.
extremists, they don't discriminate. Radicalized extremists, it doesn't make any difference if you're Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, neo-pagan, whatever you are. If you're not in alignment with their ideology, you're fair game, and that's radicalized extremists. So our war is not against Muslims; it's against radicalized extremists who don't respect human life. I think that's just an important message to get out there, so people should know.
Yeah.
We don't want to we don't want to other anybody or discriminate against anybody. So
No, this
now
is
I'll say the
Ahavat
bracha and move on.
Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam. Right? That's the name of one of the
Lolan
prayer.
points out too, that's important. Lolan just pointed it out. It's important to note that this was an Australian citizen protecting his fellow Australian citizens.
That's
Uh,
right.
that he was Australia. He loves Australia, and also he had served, I believe, with the police department. So he was, but the man was a hero, and
That's for
I think
sure.
we should send out our gratitude and our blessings and our well wishes for his refuah shlema, for his complete and speedy recovery.
Complete recovery. Yeah.
So
So go give us the blessing. Give us the
let's go.
blessing, and then we're going to answer some of the questions, which is what chapter. We'll get to that, Lolan. It's Genesis 41:1 is where
Hates.
it starts.
Right.
So
Hates. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai el Mecholam, asher b'cha ben Mekol Hamim v'notano Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. So, and what does Miketz mean?
At the end. That's what it means. The end. At the
At
end.
the end. At the end, which is a great beginning to a story. And I said it's 41 1, and it goes to 44 44 34. And this Parsha is for me it is the most fun. It's one of the most fun. I don't know. I say that every time. It's true because I was about to. The rabbi and I have spent some time today chatting with each other, working on the computers and things like that. And he said, "Oh, it's Mike. You're gonna love this one." He said to me, you know. What did he say? That was so funny to me. That it was like this is where all the good stuff that you're gonna like happens with the divination and the Oneiromantic dreams and the prophecy. You're gonna be all over this one, and but then each week it's the same. Each week we talk about the same. It's always about prophecy. And then we get so excited, and each week it's fun. Every one of them is fun. So it's true. I read it and I got so what was it? Okay, it happened at the end of 2 years. I'm going to do a little reading. It happened at the end of 2 years to the day. Pharaoh was dreaming that, behold, he was standing over a river, when, behold, out of the river there emerged 7 cows of beautiful appearance, yafeh, right? And robust flesh, and they were grazing in the marshland. And then, behold, 7 other cows emerged after them out of the river, of ugly appearance and gaunt flesh. They're emaciated. And they stood next to the cows on the bank of the river. And the cows of ugly appearance and the gaunt flesh ate the 7 cows of beautiful appearance and robust. And the Pharaoh awoke, and he fell asleep and dreamt a second time, and behold, 7 ears of grain were sprouting on a single stalk, all healthy and good. And behold, 7 ears, thin and scorched by the east wind, were growing after them. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 healthy and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it had been a dream. But we know it had been a dream. They're implying here that it had been a psychic dream, a prophetic dream. That's the implication. Okay? And dreaming is, of course, 1/60th of prophecy, but they're saying, oh no, this is a nevuah. This is prophecy. All right. And then it was in the morning, his spirit was agitated. So he summoned all the necromancers of Egypt and all the wise men. I always liked how it put the magicians first and then the wise men, right? So he summons the magicians and then the wise men. The wise men are not necessarily magicians, so that means maybe mathematicians or whatever. You can't say science is different than magic at this point. Pharaoh related his dream to them, but no one could interpret them for Pharaoh. Okay. Then the chamberlain of the cupbearers spoke before Pharaoh, saying, "My transgressions do I mention today." Pharaoh had become incensed at his servants and placed me in the ward of the house of the chamberlain of butchers, and me in the chamberlain of bakers. And we dreamt a dream on the same night. He's talking to them. The baker and I dreamt a dream, and each one of us, according to the interpretation of this dream that we did dream, we had this little Hebrew guy, this little Hebrew kid, this Jewish kid, a youth, a slave, and he was related. He was working for the butchers, and we related to him. And what do you know? He interpreted our dreams, and it all came to pass just like he said he would. And and then just as he interpreted it, so did us happen, right? And he restored my post, and the other guy was hanged. So he told him that he was going to get his job back, but the other guy was going to get paid. So Pharaoh hears this, like, "Oh my gosh, there's a Oneiromancer!" And he summons Joseph, and he changes his clothes, and he gives him all, and he says, like, interpret my dream. And this marks the beginning of Joseph's rise from slavery right out into becoming the second in command. And I'm gonna go off topic for just a second. I'm gonna go completely off from where everybody thinks I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna ask the rabbi a question.
Go ahead. Might not have the answer, but I'll try.
How come Joseph, now that he's going to become a big shot, he's about to become a big shot, and we all know the rest of the story, I think. He interprets a dream correctly, and he rises to power, and he's hanging out there, and it takes him a long time to reunite with his family. But his father, he knows his father loves him. Why doesn't he ever, with all of his money and power and fame and fortune, send his dad a letter telling him he's okay?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that question before.
Really?
I know that the last time that Yaakov and Yosef they had learned, I think it was the Egla Rufa, the broken calf. Anyway, it was a particular halacha they were learning. But it says that Yaakov could not, that we were talking about before, Avelut, the Jewish mourning period, from
Hmm.
to Aninu to Avelut, sitting Shiva, the Shaloshim, the 30 days, each one progressively less intense. And it says Yaakov could not get Nechama, could not receive consolation, even though he was presented with evidence of the bloodied garment and the testimony of his brothers, seemingly compelling evidence that Yosef was dead. He could not receive Nechama, which is consolation. He was inconsolable.
Hmm.
That's the word I'm trying to think of.
That's a good.
Inconsolable. Right. And it was a situation because some part of him knew that Yosef was not what was not in effect dead. Some part of him knew that instinctively.
Well,
Now the question is, you have a different question though. Why did Yosef, with all of his money, all of his power, all of his clout, why didn't he let his father know that he was still alive? I've never really investigated that question. It's a very good question, and I'm going to investigate it. And I have some theories off the top of my head, but I want to investigate it before I.
Okay. Do you see? Mark Kendon says, was it because of Manasseh? And I said, I don't expand. God made me forget. I don't think God made him forget what was going on. I think that the key, and I'll maybe drop this as a breadcrumb for everybody out there. I think maybe the key lies in the fact that you have to think about when you read the Torah, right? You're reading it from the overall perspective of an outsider, you're of a narrator. You know things that they don't, that the characters who are in the story, let's say, don't know. Now, what does Joseph not know? Well, he knows he was thrown in a pit by his brothers, and he knows that the first Joseph has. Let's go back when he's 17. He has this oneiromantic dream. He himself has a dream. It's kind of similar to the Pharaoh's dream. It's with the stars, and then there was one with bowing down with the sheaves of wheat or whatever. And the first dream, I think, he tells his brothers, and basically he tells them he's going to become a big shot, and people are going to be bowing down to him, and the brothers get miffed. And the second time he tells his father the dream, I believe. And his father, it's the first time and the only time that his father yells at Joseph, right? So
Right.
he chastises him. He says, "Knock that shit off." You don't go around telling everybody that you're going to become Mr. Number One, you Nimrod. And he's not happy about it. And it's like right after that Joseph gets thrown into the pit, essentially by his brothers, and then so he gets thrown into the pit, and what does he not know? He doesn't know what his brothers said to his father. He doesn't know that his brothers took their coat, his fancy coat, and spattered it with blood and went to his father and said Joseph's dead. So he doesn't know that. We know that. So as far as Joseph knows, his father knows that he's missing, right? And he probably figures that his brothers his bro maybe something happened to him. I'm just not sure. I think what had happened, I think also, if I'm not mistaken, his father, when he gets mad at him and he blows up at him, he tells him to go check on their brothers in Shem. Do you right?
Mhm.
And what
Correct.
had happened in Shem was that his brothers had gone and slaughtered everybody because of Dinah, right?
Right.
And
And
so I guess
right.
he could have he from Joseph's perspective, I think he's thinking like my dad doesn't like me very much, and there's a lot of people been thrown out of the family, and maybe I shouldn't contact him. You know what I mean? Like m- maybe I'm just thinking it. He doesn't know that his father. He suspects maybe his father thinks that he's still alive, but he knows his father's not contacting him. So maybe he was waiting. Maybe that brings us to think about who should reach out first and when. So when you have an argument with someone, does this part of the Torah maybe speak to when you have an argument with someone who should be the first to try to make tshuva or restore or
So
repair?
you're not supposed to immediately try to make peace when somebody's angry. Just like you're not supposed to try to console someone at the moment of their loss. It's in Pirkei Avot. You're not supposed to try to make peace at the time that a person's one of the interesting things that I wanted to bring out
Hmm.
about this particular parsha. I found it in Midrash Rabbah. And this is interesting about oneiromancy, about the Jewish concept of oneiromancy predicting the future, because you're saying, hey, look, he had an oneiromantic dream. He sees these cows, seven cows, and then
Yeah. Oh,
the
because I've always said that the prophecy went to the. I always point out, you're right, that the prophecy went to the Pharaoh, and also true prophecy, by the way, went to the baker, the
right,
head baker.
right,
By the way,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
So you don't have to. The point is that you don't have to be a Jew to receive true prophecy in our religion. Okay,
That's the point.
that's the
Yeah,
point.
that's the
Yeah.
point. That's the point we wanted to make. But another point worth making. This was from a Midrash Rabbah.
Yeah.
And it says that a woman came to Rabbi Eliezer. I'm just going to read this, and said to him, I saw in a dream. Now, there's a principle in Judaism. I'm going to say it in Hebrew and translate it into English. In
Good.
Hebrew, it says, "I efshar lachalom I efshar lachalom b'li devarim b'telim." It means it's impossible to have a dream without nonsensical elements in it. Okay, like in a dream, it's very difficult to know in every dream it says an uninterpreted dream is like an unopened letter.
Yes.
There is a message inherent in the dream, but it requires someone to be able to separate the what you call the shtuyot, the nonsensical elements from the part that has genuine significance or meaning, you know. So I don't know, if for example, I have a dream where, I'm eating pizza and Barbara Streisand comes crashing through the window, riding a unicorn. It's like, you know, what, what's what's the significance? What's the element of what elements have meaning and what elements are just nonsensical? And that's what it means. It's impossible to have a dream without elements of like narishkeit or shtuyot, silliness. A woman came to Rabbi Eliezer. Everyone's going to like this one, I think. Saw in a dream that the loft of the upper story of my house was split open. That's what she tells Rabbi Eliezer. I see that the loft of the upper the loft of the upper story of my house was split open. And she wanted him to interpret what could this mean. So he says what it means is you will conceive a son. You're going to have a son. All right, that's good news. Uh, then she comes back with the same dream, and he gives her the same interpretation. She had the dream, this chalom, this dream, she had a third time, and she came to Rabbi Eliezer, but she didn't find him. He wasn't there. His students, his disciples were there, but Rabbi Eliezer was AWOL, okay, absent without leave. She couldn't find him, so she tells his disciples. The disciples interpreted the dream differently, and the way they interpreted it is, "You will bury your husband." In other words, your husband's going to die. Chas v'shalom, but your husband's going to die, and they told her this, and it happened. And Rabbi Eliezer, when he came back, when he returned, he heard the crying and the wailing and asked, what was wrong? What's amiss? When they told him what had occurred, Rabbi Eliezer said, you've killed the man. And he rebuked them, saying, is it not written? It came to pass that as he interpreted to us, so it was. So the idea is, Rabbi Yochanan said, all dreams are dependent on the interpretation given to them, except for a dream about wine. Sometimes a dream about drinking wine bodes well, and sometimes it bodes misfortune. And the idea is, if a scholar, a Talmud Chacham, has a dream drinking wine,
All right.
then it bodes well. But an Am Haaretz, somebody who's like, how do you translate? An ignoramus drinks it, then it spells bad luck or misfortune.
Well, I will tell you I'm sorry, continue.
Well,
Continue.
no, the only point that I was making is that the whole concept is that when somebody it conveys an enormous sense of responsibility when a person is doing interpretation.
It
You're
does.
always looking to go, besorot tovot, as we say in Hebrew. We're always looking for the good. And
Well,
it says a person interprets the dream badly, like Rabbi Eliezer. He interpreted the dream in a positive way, and it came out positive. What's the difference? It was the same
that's
dream.
right. That's right. So there is a concept that the interpretation, it's just like Schrodinger's cat. The interpretation of the dream can change the outcome and meaning of the dream itself. That's what you're saying. The
Right.
dream interpreter can have an effect on, so you have to choose a good interpreter.
Right.
And so if you don't mind, I've opened up one of the documents which is in our document library, and I urge people to who are members of the Independent Minion to read. Is my work on dream interpretation, which is a summary. I'll flat out, right out, say it. Of Rabbi Almoli's famous 16th century work, Pitron Chalamot, or Mefasher Chelman. Okay, and I've talked about him a lot, and he has really written some fabulous advice, and he talks about true versus false dreams and how to tell the difference. So I'm going to share with you I a little summary of that. Okay, so Almoli first talks about there's a complex relationship between the zodiac, dreams, and various foods. And consuming foods that are associated with Mars, okay, fruits that are associated with Mars, okay, such as any tree that has thorns, pears, peppers, mustard, cumin, radish, leeks, garlic, rutabaga, myrrh oil, sycamore resin, sandalwood, saffron, or rabbit skin results in false dreams. But foods associated with Mercury, Saturn, and the sun produce dreams that are true. Now, these, what are those foods? Well, that's if you eat a fox, a starling, a bee, any fast flying bird, or any animal that runs quickly, geese, an etrog, or also a pomegranate. Now these are holy fruits, and we eat etrogs. Well, we have etrogs during Sukkot. We don't really, we eat them after, but usually that gets you pregnant. I think it's a segula for pregnancy and fertility, but a pomegranate is a symbol of pregnancy and fertility too. So I don't know what you were doing, but you might dream some interesting, good dreams after those. And if they're true, well, zingo. Tree sap, there's a whole list, okay? And the longer the food takes to digest, the more accurate your dream is going to be, apparently. Almoli also says that the most important difference between the for you to determine whether or not it's a truly is an oneiromantic or psychic dream is it's important for you to know whether or not your emotional state. So it was the effect on the dreamer that the dream has. If it's very, very intense, or you feel anger or trembling during the dreaming state, then the dream is likely to be true. But if the dream is very vague and you're not really emotionally affected, then the dream is unlikely to be true. So the more intense and vivid the dream, the more quickly the dream will be fulfilled. So if you're angry or you wake up freaked out and it's really, really vivid, then it's also going to come true quickly. But if it's not really vivid, you just remember you have the mood. And you're not sure it's going to come true, but maybe it'll take longer. So Almoli goes into dreams that repeat, and there is a 9-step process to interpreting dreams in the Jewish tradition. And I'm going to teach you the 9 steps. Okay. Number one, you ask, what did the dreamer eat and drink prior to the dream? Just like we talked about. Two, the timing of the dream. Okay. So what time did it occur? What day of the month did the dream occur? Okay, that's number three. The day of the month is important. And we have a chart all about that. Okay, how did the dreamer feel during the dream? And then how did they feel when they woke up? Okay, of course, what events occurred during the dream? And as we discussed, how vivid are the details? Like, could they see every little thing, or was it just kind of clips, or what? Okay. So number 7, is it a reoccurring dream? And if it is a reoccurring dream, are the changes symbolic or substantive? And this is speaks to Joseph and this particular parsha right now. He interprets, he goes to Pharaoh and back to the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh says, I had these 2 different dreams, one right after the other. And basically, he tells them that they were not symbolic, that the changes that happened weren't of any substance. They were just symbolic, right? It's basically the same dream but just different symbolism. And when that happens, we know that it's really we know that it's a dream that is uh, uh, true. Okay. So finally, the cultural context, you have to apply the context of the dreamer's personality, their occupation, their level of intelligence is assessed. Is he a dummy? Was he drunk? Does he have mental issues that keep him, these are all things that are factored in, and that's the last step to interpreting the dream. Okay, so those are the 9 steps, and they're all in that document, and you can download that document, or you can yeah. Yeah. Well, so what someone asked, Mark Kendig asked, what if your name is Mars and your sign carries Mercury and
Yeah,
Saturn?
it's a
Your
good
name
question.
doesn't
I saw it.
have it's not your name that matters, luckily. I know you were kid, you're making a joke. Uh
I wanted to
yeah.
interpolate something quickly about dreams. In the Talmud, it's the famous thing in the Talmud. It says that dreams, the chalom follows the mouth. Okay, dreams follow the mouth. So,
Mm-hmm.
in other words, the way you interpret a dream, as Dr. Jeremy was saying, the way you interpret a dream actually affects the reality, like Schrodinger's cat. Schrodinger's cat is alive and dead until it's observed. It exists in a
Mm-hmm.
state of superposition, right? Quantum physics. Same thing with dreams. A dream, until it's interpreted, exists in a kind of state of mystical superposition. Okay? And actually, for good dreams, you use what they call it's a word hatavat chalom. Hatavat chalom is what you do is if let's say for example someone has a bad dream. Okay, if you have a good dream, you tell it to a close friend or someone that's you trust, and that solidifies the good outcome. What about for a bad dream? Use the
Mm-hmm.
hatavat chalom, dream healing. Hatavat chalom is dream,
Ooh.
and you get 3 trusted people. Now, 3 people form a bet din. There's a principle in Jewish thinking that as it's poskened or as it's decided by the bet din shel mata, the rabbinical court on earth, so it's decided the rabbinical court in heaven. So you have 3 people make a decree on earth, then the bet din shel ma'ala, the heavenly court, has to follow the way it's decided by the rabbinical court on earth. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. As it's
What?
poskened in the Bet Din Shomata, so it shall be
Wait
poskened
a
in the
minute.
Bet
Where
Din
is
Shomala.
this?
Yeah.
Where where is this?
It's in the Gemara. I'd have to
Oh, you've got to.
check
I
the
need that.
Makor.
I need this. Like, I only
Okay,
know
you want
of.
you want to give me a second. Well, anyway,
I'll give you a second. I only know of six ways of neutralizing an ominous dream, which I'll go into. But this is
Right. I know.
fantastic what you're
Hatabat
telling
Halom
me.
is you get three people together. Hatabat Halom, you get three people
Huh?
together. It means literally dream healing. And Hatabat Halom is you get three people to reframe it positively using special prayers, tefillot, and psukim, verses from the Torah, and you can turn the bad dream into a good outcome. Yep.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So here's what I have. Okay. This is and I have a Chabad. Okay. I have ominous dreams. I wrote this because in all of everything that I've written or found or read or anything, I found six actual methods of neutralizing an ominous dream. Now I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna share it with you. Okay. Number one, fast on the day the dream occurred. Okay. If you have to fast on the Sabbath, then you have to fast for 2 days. Okay. Then you perform Ha'avat Chalom, the rite of transferring an ominous dream to a favorable one. And this is described differently. This is described as the dream. Oh, oops. The dreamer should gather three friends and say, I have beheld a good dream 7 times or three. And they should respond, Verily, it is good. And may it be good, and may God make it good in unison. And then the dreamer should recite Psalms 30, verse 12, Jeremiah 31, verse 12, Deuteronomy 23, verse 6, Psalms 55, verse 19, is Isaiah 35, verse 10, the first book of Samuel, 14, verse 45, Isaiah 57, verse 19, the first book of Chronicles, 12, verse 18, the first book of Samuel, chapter 25, verse 6. What's uh, Hob 3:2, Psalms 121, Numbers 6:22 through 27, Psalm 16, verse 11, and then a randomization of Ecclesiastes 9:7, such as the initials of the words that do not spell Avel or mourner. And this is from the Talmud, Berkot 55a. That
Okay.
was okay. So I did not realize, but I do not know this aspect about the bait din part. That's where I
Oh,
wanted to
it's
know.
three, right? Rabbinic. I mean, three. Three is a chazaka. Like it's three times the thing is established. They call it a chazaka, and
Well,
but
I want to read about that. That's the part that that celestial rulings have to be followed a baked in of three rabbis.
I'm gonna find the source out for you right now. While
Okay.
you're speaking, I
All
wanted to
right.
find
Well,
that
while
source.
I'm yammering,
Okay, here
please.
we go. This statement expresses a core. I'm just going to read it
Yeah.
from Google. This statement expresses a core concept in Jewish theology, often summarized by the Aramaic phrase. Okay, it signifies a belief that a legitimate human rabbinical court, a bet din, when acting in accordance with halacha, Jewish law, and within its established authority, has its decisions ratified and confirmed by the divine court in heaven. The principle underscores the significant authority and responsibility vested in human religious leadership and legal processes. So, in other words, what it covers is decisions regarding what is permitted or forbidden,
I
uh,
don't like it. I
conversion,
don't like it.
validating a person's entry into the Jewish faith. You have a bet then that establishes it. Hey, this is a Jew.
I don't like it.
They go with it, right? Divorce, legitimizing the dissolution of a marriage. Oaths and vows, like a neder or a shavua, A netter is a promise, or a shavua
Oath and
is
vows,
an oath.
yes.
Yeah. So the idea is rooted in interpretation of biblical and Talmudic texts, emphasizing a partnership between God and humanity,
I don't like it.
interpreting and applying divine law on earth. So the
I like
idea
the
is,
partnership idea. I like the partnership idea, but the fact that the celestial bit has to sort of bow or take it into consideration, I don't like it. And I'm going to come down on the fact that I think that honestly, I'm going to tell you that this rabbinical ruling is a rabbinical ruling made by rabbis for rabbis and puts them on the level of puts three of them, on the level of above a minion. Uh,
yeah, I mean, it is problematic in my mind too. I have that issue, but I'll tell you a quick story. So there were four rabbis. Three rabbis were on one side of the fence, were saying, one thing, and one rabbi disagreed. And they said to the rabbi who disagreed, the other three rabbis told the one dissenting rabbi, Rabbi, I'm sorry, but it's 3-1. I mean, it's 3-1. And I mean, we go in Judaism, we say we paskin according to the Rav, to the majority, right? To the majority rules, okay?
I
So
don't know
this
if I agree with that
rabbi,
one either.
right? So this rabbi prayed, Hashem, I know I'm right on this. Please give me a sign that I'm right. And at that moment, a supernal light appears, and a bas kol, a heavenly voice announces, Rabbi so and so is right. And he looks at the other three rabbis and he said, "You see, there you have it. I mean,
Mhm.
you got a simon min shemayim, a sign from heaven that I'm right. God Himself agrees with me." The other three rabbis look at him and say, "So no, instead of 3-1, now it's 2-1."
Okay. All right. I love that. That's the funniest thing. That is fantastic. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna have to really look into this because this really is disturbing to me. This
Yeah.
is a
Instead
real
of, I'm sorry, I meant to say instead of 3-1, now it's 3-2. That's
three
what I.
to two. I get it.
Yeah,
I
three
got
to
it. I
two.
got it. I
Yeah.
understood. Right. 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 It's 3 to 2. So I mean, uh, the, the other thing that's disturbing to me is quite honestly, I I'm not even sure that we should plus rule according to majority because really the idea is to rule according to whoever is correct and the minority. I mean the history is only made up of is my um my mentor growing up, he used to tell me, Jeremy, history is made. I love democracy, he would say. I love democracy, but history is only made up of points where the majority was wrong.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like if two guys decided not to be obsessive compulsive and try to fly, we would never have gotten off the ground. The Wright brothers would never have flown, and it would have been, and that's it. And it's because the thinking of the time was that's not possible. So, but turns out it is possible. So I have beef with that. I think that
I hear you completely. I'm
I
just
mean,
saying that
so
it's there. I mean, it's there.
yeah,
Whether it's,
it's
uh,
problematic, I
yeah,
think. And I think it's problematic that it's a ruling made by rabbis. I mean, if
yeah.
they want to go ahead and have a ruling like that that's made by non-rabbis, then I would say maybe I'd consider it. All right, let's talk about other ways of neutralizing dreams. Um, a bad dream can be countered by prayer, charity, and repentance, according to Ecclesiastes Rabbah 5:5:1. A dream can be sold to another person. That is a Jewish folk uh, uh, remedy. According to the Shulchan Aruch, a bad dream can be nullified either by fasting or by both fasting and giving to charity. Okay. Also, one can give to charity and act out the dream. So you get your family all together and you act out the dream, just like what you would do on a Saturday night for fun. And then during the holidays, a special prayer is sometimes incanted during the priestly benediction, according to the same thing, Barakot 55b. That first part was 55a, this is 55b. And this song protects against nightmares. The Song of Psalms Rabbah 371, which I think is the most fascinating um, chapter and verse series because it's all of those prime numbers except for five, which is our magic numbers for us, 371. So those are the six methods of neutralizing uh, dreams so that they don't come true, according as far as I know. Do you have any more to add, Rabbi? Do you
Well, the
know?
only thing I was going to add is what I was mentioning earlier, what you were saying, and yeah, I have an issue with that myself. But there's a famous story in the Gemara. I just wanted to look it up. This is in the Talmud Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud. It's in Baba Metzia. They have it's, uh, they describe a major halachic, what they call a machloket. A machloket is a dispute between two
Yeah.
scholars. Okay. It was between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua ben Hanania. And in the rabbinic court, the dispute centered on whether a specific type of oven was ritually pure or impure. I won't go into that because that's not really relevant to the point that I'm making. But to prove his point, Rabbi Eliezer summoned several miracles, including a bat kol, a heavenly voice, that supported his opinion. The other rabbis, led by Rabbi Yeshua, rejected the divine intervention, citing the pasuk, the verse from the Torah, that it is not in heaven. The Torah is given to humans, not to the malachim, not to the angels, right? Which means that once the Torah was given to humans, its interpretation and application became a matter for human rabbinic consensus. And during this contentious debate, the walls of the Beit Midrash, the Beit HaMidrash is the study hall where they were learning, began to lean inward and fall out of deference to both scholars present. There's Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi, the two rabbis were at opposite ends of the pole, and the walls were like going in and out, saying, okay, this one has a point, this one has a point. The story is a foundational narrative in Judaism emphasizing the authority of human rabbinic interpretation of Jewish law even over a divine voice. In other words, even God himself, a divine voice, cannot overrule it. There's a principle in Judaism, elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim, which means that both opinions are the words of God. Like Rabbi Hillel, like Beit Hillel, the school of Hillel and Beit Shammai were famous for always being at loggerheads. I mean, they would clash with each other, be on opposite ends of the pole. But we say they're if you're sincere in trying to apply the immutable, timeless truths of Torah to your life, then neither one is wrong if they're approaching it l'shem shemayim, for the sake of heaven. Okay, the ideas. Now, Dr. Jeremy points out, and I've always had a problem. I do have a problem with that because, as Dr. Jeremy points out, truth is truth. Okay, bottom line is, you say 5 plus 5 equals 10. Great. But he used Schrodinger's cat as an example, and I like that because the idea is the cat, until it's observed, is in a state of superposition, both alive and dead.
Superposition.
You don't know until you observe the cat, okay? I see that cat is alive. So did it become alive because at the moment I observed it? As from my reference point, the point is that it exists simultaneously in a state of superposition. And as counterintuitive as that sounds, all of quantum computing and all of technology indicate that this is indeed the case. That things can exist that somehow the quantum field collapses into a singularity by the very act of observing it. And that's really that's really amazing. So the idea is that like Dr. Jeremy pointed out, you have these two different opinions, but the bottom line is if we wouldn't challenge the majority sometime, we'd never make progress.
You would never
So
make
we'd
progress.
never make progress. So I'm saying that you know what? Jewish law, okay, fine. They might decide that way al pi halacha by Jewish law, but practically speaking, it's those who challenge the accepted
Yes, yeah,
that
that's
push
what
it
I'm
forward.
saying. Push
So
it
that
forward,
in the
exactly.
future, so then in the future they look back at it and they say, "Hey, those two Michigoyim, Dr. Jeremy and Rabbi McLashley, that were always making these,
That
you
that
know,
that really is the whole fundamental message behind the
right,
movie Fiddler on the Roof,
right.
actually, which
It's the
is
lunatics
he.
that push us forward."
Well, yeah, I mean, he's screaming tradition, and we should go with tradition. And meanwhile, his daughters are pushing him not, the modern world is kind of, moving forward with or without you. Now, I want to show you, Rabbi, that Mark Gilmore, if you look at the chat,
Yeah.
asked you a question specifically, and I think that you can both respond to him directly in the chat. Everybody, give Rabbi a chance to respond in the chat
Well, I want
and
to respond to
verbally.
him. I want to respond to him on camera so that everyone
Yeah, but do both. That's what I'm saying. It'll give
yeah.
you a
He
chance to
always he always
practice.
has these. Okay, so let me just see. What's his question? I'm looking for
All
his.
right, his question, which is the last question, so on the very
Okay. Oh,
bottom of the chat.
do the three need to be rabbis, or they can be righteous or wise ones? It doesn't specifically say, and I tell you,
Oh, it doesn't say that's rabbis.
but I'll tell you truthfully, the way I look at it is that in Pirkei Avot, it says
Does
Asa
it?
a Rav. They always say that, okay, you acquire for yourself a rabbi, make for yourself a rabbi. That's
So
not
wait,
really
does
the
it?
way it translates. Asa lacha means make yourself a rabbi. So the
So
bottom
well,
line is, you know who a rabbi is? A rabbi meant, okay, you can do it the way I did it, sit in yeshiva for a set number of years, pass a bechina, a test, and your deya, which is basically the laws of kashrut, the dietary laws. Or essentially, a rabbi literally is just is a mentor, is a teacher, a master. Okay, you know Aleph Beit, the Hebrew alphabet. Okay, you teach that to someone, you're their rabbi. Everyone has something to teach.
well, I
Dr.
think.
Jeremy has something to teach. I have something to teach, and you know what? I have a lot to learn from people like Mark Gilmore and Faith McCann and Aziza White
But all right,
and
but
Mark Hendig.
does it? But does it?
So you
Does
guys
it
are my rabbis
specify?
as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
but does it specify? Okay, I'm with you on all of this because this is the rhetoric that I espouse. So
right,
you're singing to the Chazan, as you
okay.
say, wisely taught me. So the question is, but the question is a good one. Does it? Does it actually? What word does it use? Does it use rabbi or does it use wise person?
I'd have to dig out my Talmud Bob, it's in where is it? In Baba Metzia, I think.
It's
I'd
in
have to
Baba
check it out
Metzia. All right.
tomorrow.
Well, let's look it up and
There's
we'll try to get back to
There's
everybody.
Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Basra, and there's Baba Maisa. No, I'm just kidding. You know what a Baba Maisa is? That's an inside joke for a
Oh
Baba
my
Maisa
goodness.
means a grandmother's tale. The Baba
Yeah.
that I'm referring to are the three different sections of the Gemara. Baba Basra, Baba Metzia, and Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Basra. Three different Gemaras.
Parts of the Talmud.
But
There
a
are three
Baba
different
Maisa is a
books in the Talmud.
so, and that was just a silly, that was a rabbinical joke. But no, I mean everyone is a rabbi. Everyone has something to teach. That's what I mean. Ezahu chacham lamed mikolam. Who's a wise person? You learn from everyone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, heck, I mean, Lolan has asked questions. Aziza White, Faith McCann, Mark Kendig. I mean, everyone here. I mean, you get all these insightful questions and everything, and then that forces me to think, gee, I've never heard of that question before. Maybe I don't know the answer, or maybe they're providing an insight or a perspective that I've never even examined before. And you say, wow. Like it says, there's a rabbi in Pirkei that says he learned more from his students than he did from his teachers. So, we're all teachers and we're all students. And as soon as you start thinking that you don't have anything left to learn, that's when you have to go back to school. Because there's, Reishis Chachma Yirat Hashem. It says the beginning of wisdom is fear of Hashem. I would say also the beginning of wisdom is knowing how much we really don't know. We should always, for myself, you always should remain humble and say, however much I learn, think of how much I don't know. You never balance it. So I always look at say, one of the things I love talking to people with a different perspective, a different belief system, a different ideology, is that I'm not trying to coerce them or compel them to agree or to align themselves with what I believe. I want to sit there and learn what they believe. I want to hear their perspectives, their insights, because you know why? If I'm just talking to people who think like I think, believe the way I believe, and have learned the same stuff I've learned, I'm never going to grow.
Well, I think that's a great lesson for us to end on. That's absolutely true. You're right. It's those who challenge us.
Yeah.
You got to question authority, right?
And
That's these
hey,
are
you know
these are the
what? You
things.
we can agree to disagree. And you have your system and I have my system. And we're not here to clash. We're here to complement. We can
No,
work
yeah,
together
we're here to
instead of
compliment,
dividing.
and sometimes, yeah, exactly. I mean, right, and get everybody's here to join hands and get the job done. And because people have different talents and different strengths and different ways of thinking, together we can get the job done. All right. And we need people who think strangely. We need people who are different. We need people who are innovators and can put together information in a completely different way. That's why you need odd thinkers, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'd never have. This is my bit of odd thinking. I'm putting them on my loops. This is Tzitzit. I decided to make it out of red string so that it would also be anti-evil eye. So I can kill two birds with one stone. So, anyways, I mean, and it's not official. It's not. I mean, they should be white, honestly, but
Oh, but that's how you made them red. You dipped them in the blood of the two birds you killed, right? I mean,
yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and I'm actually the reason that they're red is so that the angel Malach HaMavet will pass over me. Uh, so,
there are people that
um,
say they know what the techelet is now. They know what the blue
yeah.
string that we've identified with the chalazon is. But I still see. I'm saying, well, wait a minute. If we know what the chalazon is, the type of uh, uh, shellfish
We
it
know what
was that
the shells. We don't
right.
know which string it was.
They're saying now that they do know.
Oh, they do know which
That's what
string?
they're saying now, but
Oh,
people are still
okay.
wearing the white strings.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. There's some say, but you see a lot more people now wearing tzitzit with the blue string with the techelet.
Yeah, yeah. I always wanted Channing to make some for me.
Until
All
they
right.
find it, until they, I just wear my tzitzit with a plain white string, or in my case, I mean, if they don't go green, count me out. I mean, it's got to be a green string for me.
Well, we can work on it. Let's work on it. All right, everyone. Lila Tove, this was really super fun. And we didn't really, go into the dreaming and Oneiromancy as much as you thought we would, I bet. Yeah. So this was fun. Have a wonderful evening. I will put this up on YouTube as I always do, and tell everybody and watch it last year. I think watch last year's. We had a really great time.
And before we sign off, I want to send out my love, light, and ask Mechila forgiveness for any French Canadians I may have offended in the past.
ah, that's lovely.
And
All
they're
right,
wonderful people. I just like
tomorrow night, join us for Ma'ariv. Join us for Ma'ariv tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. It'll be my last Ma'ariv before I have my little surgery on Thursday. So blessings to all and Lila Tov. Good night, everyone.
good night.